Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Jennifer Slackman with Edgenuity. We so appreciate you joining us for our second installment in our Profiles in Blended Learning series. Today, I'm joined by Laurie Norris, the e-learning coordinator for Kingsport City Schools in Tennessee, as well as Shanna Hensley, the principal at DBExcel. I'm so excited to have them with us this afternoon to share more about their online and blended program in their school. I think you're going to find it incredibly interesting. A few points before we get into the presentation. The first is that you all are on mute. With such a large group, we want to eliminate any background noises or distractions. So we have you all on mute, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. We absolutely want to hear your questions and comments. So please feel free to use the question or chat toolbar within the GoToWebinar platform. Please at any point submit any questions that you have, and we'll take questions towards the end of the presentation, but we do encourage you to type those as soon as you have those. The other point that I wanted to share is that we are recording this session today, and we will be sending out a link in just a day or two with that recording. So you will be able to revisit this session and share it with any colleagues. So with those admin details out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. And before I turn things over to Laurie and Shanna, I just want to make a few comments about online and blended learning, just to help set the stage for where we are at. And you know what we're seeing as Edgenuity is working with schools and districts across the country is that online and blended learning are giving us tremendous amounts of flexibility and freedom to deliver instruction to students. Certainly that is coming with changes and with evolution in practice, but we're very excited about the potential for what online and blended learning can offer students in terms of flexibility. Now, just to ground us all in a similar definition of what blended learning is, I'm sharing this because sometimes people think that because they have a smartboard in a classroom or a number of computers in the back of the room that they are using technology and therefore are doing blended learning. But blended learning is a little bit more systematic than that. It is a more formal program in which students are learning partly online as well as partly offline, whether that's face-to-face in a brick-and-mortar location or sometimes partly at home or partly at school. And these modalities, the online and the offline, are connected in some way, and that's usually connected around data. So that way teachers and administrators have a way to monitor what's happening online, then inform what's happening offline. And certainly as we share more today, you're going to hear interesting ways that data is helping to drive an experience and helping to drive and ensure that students are being successful. Now, when we talk about blended learning, sometimes we get hung up or stuck in some of the models that schools and districts are using to talk about their programs. And I am sharing these just so we have a sense of the many ways that some schools and districts are using online curriculum to support blended learning. But I wouldn't want us to get hung up in any specific model. And the reality is when we're designing an online and blended learning program, the most important thing to consider is the academic goals and needs of our students and of our school, not necessarily what model we want to do. It's usually the academic needs and the goals of our students and of our schools that helps to drive what model will help us best reach those goals. That being said, one of the exciting things about a blended learning environment is how it's helping to shift what's happening in our classrooms regardless of what model is being used. So if you think about a traditional learning environment, what we're holding fixed is time. So there is 180 days of school, and we meet 5 days a week, and our periods are 45 minutes long. Time is quite fixed. And what's going to happen is learning is really the variable, right? A student may or may not get it in that 45-minute class period, but come tomorrow, we're moving on because it's the next day and I have a new lesson to cover. But in a blended learning and an online learning environment, learning is actually helped fixed, and the time that it takes for students to master a concept is what varies. So some students might learn very quickly and be able to move on. Some students might learn a lot slower and need a lot more support, and they're able to get that through some of the online and offline interactions that they have in a blended learning environment. But what we're holding fixed is that idea of learning, that we want students to reach mastery and be successful. We're just going to change how we're going to deliver that learning to students. The bottom line with blended learning is that really it's just another strategy to help teachers do what they do every day, which is help students be successful. This is a quote from the iNACOL Blended Learning Framework. iNACOL is a fantastic organization for more information about online and blended learning for those of you who are just getting started. But this point is so true, and one that I really want to make sure we emphasize, that blended learning isn't going to be the end-all be-all. It's not going to be the magic solution or magic bullet, but it is a strategy for helping teachers do what we want them to do, which is at the end of the day, help their students be successful. And with that, I'm so excited to turn things over to Laurie and Shanna so you can have an understanding of what they are doing in their district and in their schools through online and blended learning to help students be successful. And as I introduce Laurie and Shanna, I'm actually going to turn over presentation controls to my friends in Tennessee so that way they can control the presentation and share with you today a bit more about their school. So whenever you're ready, Laurie and Shanna, please feel free to take it away.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to share our journey with everyone. My name is Laurie Norris, and I've been with Kingsport City Schools for over 10 years. I am the e-learning coordinator and have been in this position for a little over 3 years. Before that, I was in the elementary and middle school classrooms. I oversee the online and blended learning for our district and support teachers in tech integration and 21st century skills in their classrooms.
And I'm Shanna Hensley. I'm the principal of the DB Excel program, and I'm very excited to be with all of you today to share with you our journey. I've been in education for about 14 years now. I've been principal of this program for 2 years, and prior to that I was principal of an elementary school and also taught at the elementary level. One of the things that we're very fortunate and very proud of is our community. We live in a city called Kingsport, Tennessee. It has approximately 53,000 residents. What we are blessed with is that we have a lot of area businesses that are great. We have Eastman Chemical Company, who is a Fortune 500 company. We have other large businesses, and all of these businesses really support our school system. In our downtown area, we even have access to a higher ed center, and as we grow, we're hoping to partner with them so that we can let our students take part in some of the dual enrollment opportunities at the college level. To give you a little bit of background about our school, our main campus high school is called Dobbins-Bennett High School. They serve about 2,100 students. Of those 2,100 students, we have about 268. The number listed here in this presentation today is at 240, but we ran the numbers again last night. Altogether this school year, we've served 268 students. Our free and reduced population is about 41.32%, and then you can see the breakdown of your demographics in the next bullet point. One of the things I wanted to also share with you that we didn't include in on this slide is just the number of teachers and support staff that we have who help make our school successful. We currently have 2 full-time English teachers, 2 full-time math teachers, a full-time social studies teacher, a full-time science teacher. We have 2 part-time special ed teachers. One of those teachers is actually a lead teacher for our school who helps provide support with scheduling and tracking progress towards graduation. We do have one college and career liaison. In addition to the teachers that we have, we do have 3 part-time instructional assistants who facilitate our labs. We do have a school secretary and then 1 nursing assistant.
And just to interject here and give some context, the DB Excel program is a separate campus from the main high school. So when you see the students at the Dobbins-Bennett High School, that's the main campus, and the DB Excel program is off campus. So what are we doing? We are an online and blended environment. We offer full-time and part-time virtual opportunities for students, and we offer blended learning opportunities for students. We also have a very personalized and flexible schedule. We have students that come for part of the day and work part of the day. So we are open to being flexible with what the students' needs are. We also have a unique schedule in that students come 4 days per week, and the fifth day, is for professional learning for teachers. We knew from the beginning of the vision of this program that professional development for teachers was going to be vital, so we made sure that 1 day per week was focused on professional learning and focusing on what students' needs are. We also, another cornerstone of the program is community engagement. We began at the very beginning establishing partnerships with business and leaders in our community. We actually have a program called Earn and Learn, where students have work opportunities within the day, and so they can go to their jobs, and we help align jobs for them in the community, and then they come to school part of the time. We really are a culture of learning and growth. Why are we doing this? We want to reach every student. This program is a program of choice. We want to provide a 21st century learning opportunity for all students. This is something that is not like the traditional high school, so it's a path that's a little bit different, but very personalized. We have 21st century teaching and learning strategies embedded in our practice. We talk a lot about the 4 C's of 21st century learning. And another reason is we are preparing for college and career success with our students and having them workforce ready. Supporting the local industry with skilled workforce is important to us, and we want to provide opportunities for students to leave our program ready for college and career success. How are we doing it? When we first started, Shanna, the principal, and her staff identified 3 major goals for the first couple of years, and I think it was so smart that they focused on everything that they did was focused around these 3 goals, and Shanna's going to talk more about that in a little bit. But one of them was building meaningful relationships with students. Another was using data to inform instruction. And then finally, perfecting blended and online learning. This was new to a lot of teachers, and so we knew we had to spend a lot of time just looking what best practices were for online and blended learning. So we are DV Excel. Excel stands for Excellence in a Creative Environment for Learning. Our vision is to provide an innovative approach to personalized learning, and our mission is to prepare students to be career and workforce ready with success in citizenship and leadership in the community. And we invite you to learn more about us by going to our website at dv-excel.com. Some of the resources that we, when we first started constructing this vision, I wanted to kind of share with you some of the resources that we used. We started with our guiding tenets and made sure that everything that we did aligned with our guiding tenets and district goals. Our superintendent was extremely supportive and believes that there are some 21st century learners that need to learn in a way that's a little bit different. So we were truly charged with thinking outside of the box. We did a lot of research. I had the opportunity to go visit probably between 25 and 30 different schools and districts in the Southeast, so that we could kind of pull best practices and talk to people firsthand about what they're doing in their schools. And then we also focused on a study that researched 5 schools of exemplary redesign of the country, and there were some good findings in that study. So as we pulled all this research and all of our findings together, this is probably, and Shanna can agree, one of our favorite parts of sharing our vision with everyone. We started in a room, just the 2 of us, and a blank whiteboard, and put our goal at the top, an innovative approach to personalized learning. And we spent 2 or 3 days with every single imaginative idea we could come up with and every single scenario. And we just put everything up there. We had research that tied with all of our ideas. We had our guiding tenets that tied in with everything, and so we were really able to think outside the box and explore some of that blue sky thinking. And that was a really fun time. As we began to kind of hone in on some of the key ideas for this brainstorming session, we actually came up with 4 kind of cornerstones for the project. And so the model on the left is what you see kind of is a replacement of that whiteboard brainstorming session we had. We came up with the 4 cornerstone pieces, which were campus, content, culture, and community. So that became our model for the program. We are lucky to have a visioning process already in place for our district that we use for a lot of our initiatives. So we plugged this model into that process, and you can see that, that infographic on the right. We use this, as I said, for all of our district initiatives. It's really a cycle of learning. So it starts with our guiding tenets. It includes research, our findings, and our model, which we have there in the infographic within. Instructional initiatives and impact, and then finally launching forward. And as I said, it is really a cycle, so we often go back to the guiding tenets and the research and the findings, review our model, make sure we're on track. And I'd say we probably do this almost quarterly, don't you think, Shanna? I think it's important to take a step back and look at your big vision every once in a while and make sure you're continuing on the same path you intended from the beginning.
Laurie talked a few moments ago about 3 goals that we set as a school, and I think in the planning, and if you're starting a school like this, it's very important that you do plan for goals that you want to meet to ensure that you're arriving at what your mission and vision is for your school. So we knew that our teachers needed to have lots of professional learning and be immersed in best practices, and we knew that our students, it needed to be all about personalized learning with them. So when we looked at those 2 things, as a school, we developed 3 goals: building meaningful relationships with students, using data to inform instruction, and then just continuing to perfect blended learning. And we keep them in this particular order because we feel that building meaningful relationships with students is probably the most important thing that we do in order to help propel them towards gaining credits and meeting goals after high school. On that second one, using data to inform instruction, we did at one time state that as using data to drive instruction, and really what we want to be mindful of is that we have lots of data points that help us be better informed about how to support our students and how to instruct in our classroom. So it was important to us that we changed that from driving instruction to informing instruction. And then just that last one again on perfecting blended learning. And we're fortunate to be in a district where that our superintendent really supports this initiative. So like Laurie talked about our schedule earlier, we have 1 day a week that's dedicated to professional learning and how to make our school better. When we look at building meaningful relationships with students, the first thing that I did as the principal was I had all of our staff members take the Strengths Finder book, or the Strengths Finder assessment, and we focused on what our 5 strengths were as a staff to know how that we could leverage those to help our school. And then I also wanted to model that, so as teachers we focus on those strengths, we also need to focus on what our students' strengths are as well. We participated in lots of book studies, and we continue to immerse ourselves in a book at all times, and we'll talk about that in a few more moments. Personalized learning plans, really looking at where is a student in their learning, and one of the things that I really like about blended learning is we can partner with students to say, if you need to spend longer today in geometry, you have the freedom to be able to do that because we're not working under a typical Bell schedule. We also help students set goals so that they know today I need to get at least 3% of the way through this course or through whatever it is that I'm working on. And then we also show them how to monitor those goals and come back and see if they have successfully accomplished them. And then one of the last things that we do here is we find students who are meeting our expectations, and we announce these through what we have that we call a RISE award. So we're looking for those students who are accountable, responsible and respectful, involved, safe, and then excellent. And then we make a big deal out about this. So we want to reward them for meeting our expectations. When we look at using data to inform instruction, Edgenuity has a lot of great reports that we can use. We have 3 reports that you see right there. The first one that's labeled psychology, that is what a student would typically see, or the parent. So you can see in this case, the child is 28% of the way through the course. They've got a green bar, so they're exactly where they're supposed to be or a little bit ahead. It gives you their overall grade. And it will even break it down to show you their scores, the weight of quizzes, tests, different things like that. We share strategies to ensure that students are making progress. So we will talk about if teacher A is having great success and maybe teacher B is struggling in a certain area, how can teacher A share what she's doing with teacher B to help her be more successful? And then leveraging technology to work smarter. We're grateful that we can get real-time data through Edgenuity, so teachers aren't spending a lot of time trying to break down the data and determine what it means. They can look at a snapshot and look at their dashboard and tell where a student needs support. And it's leveraging technology to work smarter because they're able to spend more time with students and less time breaking everything down. When we look at perfecting blended learning, one of the things that when we first adopted Edgenuity as their online content delivery system, we spent a lot of time with Adrienne Bogans, who is a great rep for us. She provided a few days of face-to-face support with us, and then she gave us support one time every 9 weeks. She would actually come to our building and provide that kind of support with us. For teachers, we're able to use every Friday to focus on what are those things that we need support with as a school. We also look at best practices, so teachers will share what's going on in their room that's getting them lots of success. They're sharing strategies to ensure that students are making progress. And what we also did was we made lots of site visits to some of their elementary schools who do those small groups and do them well, because we found through blended learning we're able to focus in on small groups of students or even individual students. So we wanted to see what that looked like, and we made lots of visits to our elementary classrooms. We looked at John Hattie's work, and if you're familiar with his work, then you will know that if you can get students to set meaningful goals, that will get them a large gain in achievement. So that's why that we focus a lot of our time with students on setting goals and knowing how to monitor those goals to ensure that they're making success. And then we also use the INACOL standards to let us know what blended learning looks like from a teacher's perspective and from a student's perspective. Some of the book studies that we've participated in, the Now Discover Your Strengths book, the mindset, because when you're working with a 21st century student, you want to make sure that you have that growth mindset and you're not fixed. You realize that students learn differently, you need to learn differently, you're really more of a facilitator in the classroom rather than the teacher on the stage. Right now we're looking at Sir Ken Robinson's Creative Schools book, and I encourage you to look at this because it really does make you think about how we've traditionally done education and how we need to rethink it and do it differently to meet the needs of our students this day and time. The Visible Learning for Teachers by John Hattie, and then Engaging Our Students by Schlechte, which is the next level of working on the work.
In our continued work with perfecting blended learning, we looked at the models of blended learning and really have focused on the 3 that you see here. We've done a lot, as Shanna said, done a lot of work with the INACOL standards, and we've researched a lot with Michael Horn's work. One of the book studies was also the book by Michael Horn, Blended, where it talked a lot about the blended learning models. So some of the 3 models that we use in our daily instruction are the station rotation, the flex model, and the flipped model. So in the station rotation model, you can see that It's more of a collaborative open space. That's the bigger picture on the left, where teachers may pull out a student or a small group of students to work independently for more personalized and differentiated instruction. And then the top right model is where students who are working either full-time or part-time virtually, that would be more of a model that would align with what their learning looks like. And then the station rotation in the bottom right there is where teachers in a classroom would rotate between online instruction, teacher-led instruction, and collaborative stations. As we move toward, we actually are moving into a larger space in the fall, and keeping in mind some of these blended learning models, we have kind of designed a very open collaborative space, so we're excited about using the environment to propel us further into the blended learning realm. We also have spent a lot of our Fridays, our professional learning Fridays, besides looking at the blended learning models, but thinking about what the environment looks like, the culture of blended learning, what good instruction looks like, and all those kinds of things. We've actually created a rubric that aligns with our 4 cornerstone pieces: campus, content, culture, community. And we've done a lot of activities that support teachers in showing them exactly what this looks like in their classroom.
So what does a day in the life of a student at DBXL look like? Our entire facility is about learning. You will see students who are working in the hallway, students working in classrooms. I will even typically have a small group of students working out of my office. We do have 2 different types of students. We have virtual students. Our virtual students mostly work from home. If they are in need of support, or if the teacher feels they need support, we will ask them to come in, but they typically work from home. We also have students from our main campus high school who may take an additional course with us, and they will take that outside of the school day. The other type of student that we have is our fully blended learning student. Our school is typically open from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. These students typically come to school 4 days a week, and then that 5th day is a virtual day for them. Most students will come for the full day, but we do have a handful of students who only come to school for part of the day, and they may come to school for part of the day because they need to go home and work. There's just various reasons as to why that a student may not be a full-time student with us. So when we think back about challenges and lessons that we've learned, I think one of the most important things that and let me back up actually, sorry about that. Our growth we have just really exploded in the last couple of years. You can see in 2013-14, we had 63 students that we served. In 14-15, we served 136 students. And then from August until yesterday, we have served 268 students. When we look at the online course completions from our students, back in 13-14, 252 courses were completed, 14-15, 807, and then so far this year we've had about 886 courses that have been completed. The number of graduates has also grown tremendously. In 13-14 we had 17 graduates. In 14-15 we had 52 students graduate through our program. And then in the fall of this school year, we've had about 53 students already graduate. And that's just a testament really to the personalized learning that we're able to provide students. So now moving into the challenges and the lessons that we've learned, I think one of the most important things to think about when you're designing a program like this is to start small, but to dream really big. So you want to be realistic when you're starting out, but you also want to have that big end game in mind. Prioritizing professional development is very important. Jennifer talked earlier that blended learning is more than having a smartboard in your room. It really is being a partner with students in their educational path. So that's prioritizing professional development is very important. Gaining district and community support is essential because blended learning is new. People aren't familiar with it. And so you have to make sure that you're educating everybody on what it is that you're doing. marketing your program effectively, again, so that people know what you're doing, developing the right team of teachers. You know, I go back to that growth mindset, and that's one of the most important components that a teacher in a blended learning environment needs to have, is just being open. And then choosing the right online platform. And we were very methodical when we were vetting out different vendors to use before we decided to use Edgenuity. And we talked to several districts who've used the platform. And we just looked back at our guiding tenets and decided that Edgenuity was the program that we needed to go with that would best meet our needs for our blended and virtual opportunities.
And we welcome any questions.
Great. Laurie and Shanna, thank you so much for all this wonderful information you shared with us. I'm sure the ideas are percolating in some of the minds of those who have joined us. We do have a number of questions. I'm going to take the first one. It's more of an admin question. We will be sending out a link to the recording of this webinar in just a day or two. So if you've joined us, we have your email address, and we'll send you out that link so you'll be able to review this presentation at a later date and time. And feel free to share that link with your colleagues who were unable to make it. And now the rest of the questions I'm going to pose are for Laurie and Shanna. For those of you who also have questions, please feel free to keep them coming. You'll need to type those into that question box that's there in the GoToWebinar panel or tool. So let me start with the first question. How do you all document attendance for students who are working outside of the school building? And how does your state view attendance in this model? It sounds like there's some kids that graduated in the fall. So two-part question. How are you keeping track of those students who might be working outside of the school building? And then also, how does the state view your program and how you're able to offer more flexibility?
Sure. We track attendance based off of progress that students are making in Edgenuity. So if they're where they're supposed to be, and that's a very quick glance at the dashboard to see if students are making progress, then we can count them as being present because they're essentially doing what they need to be doing. Completing a lesson in Edgenuity takes about an hour to an hour and a half. So if you have 4 or 5 classes that you're working on, it's real easy to just look at that dashboard and see if students are making progress. On Fridays, again, we just look to see if students are making progress and where they're supposed to be. So it's not that they're getting a complete full day of not working, because we have someone who just is dedicated to looking at the progress for attendance. So we're really looking at attendance more from a proficiency stance than we are anything else. And if a student is making perfect progress and where they need to be in terms of being able to complete about 8 courses a year. Hopefully that answers that question.
Great, thank you. And if there's a follow-up, we'll see that in the question panel. Could you talk a little bit more about your partnerships with the local businesses? Is it partnerships for internships, or are they sponsoring something about the school? How is it working with those local businesses that you mentioned at the start of your presentation?
We are really fortunate. It just seems like everything that we've done within our program, we've always had someone in the community who's stepped up and decided to help support us. So when we first started our program, we knew that one of the things that we wanted to be able to do was to help students make connections within our community. We had a gentleman who approached us and said that he wanted to start a program called Earn and Learn, where students would essentially get a job in our community based off of what their strengths or what their interests are. And then we might even be able to be flexible with their schedule. So, for example, we had a student who really wanted to work in an auto body shop. We were able to, through our liaison, connect with some of those businesses in our community, and a couple of them stepped up and we were able to get him a job. So really what we've done is we've gone out in our community and said, here's what our mission and vision is. Do you have jobs that you would want to secure for us, so that if we have a student who is interested in maybe doing this type of work, we could send them to you, you could interview them and see if you think they would be a good fit for you. So we've done a lot of marketing for our program, and as a result of that, our community members have really just stepped up and they have embraced everything that we're doing.
And also I'll add that as a result of partnering with the business leaders and businesses in the community, we've been able to establish kind of a mentorship for the students as they go through their work. So we know where they're working, we know who they're working for, so our teachers and staff at the school can support them in ways that they need to be supported in the work environment as they learn how to be a good employee.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so great. And there was a comment that that's a fantastic partnership that you have going. Question about students who might either be classified as special ed or any English language learners. Do you have students like that in your program, and how are they doing, and how are they potentially getting some extra support to be successful in a more flexible learning environment?
I'm going to be very honest with you in that one of our many shining stars at DB Excel is our special ed support. We have 2 part-time teachers who are committed 150% to our students. And so they, you know, we follow the process of having IEP meetings to ensure that we're the best environment for a student. But once they come to us, we find that we have great success because of our goal setting. You know, we're able to individualize support and help students meet goals, and because our teachers are so committed, they're able to provide fantastic support in helping students when they need it.
Great. Could you speak a little bit further about the idea of what's happening offline in terms of, are you giving remediation to students? Are you working on projects? Are teachers having discussions? How do you make that connection between what the students are doing online and then what's happening offline?
Well, and a lot of that comes through our professional development. And, you know, we talk about you can use Edgenuity like a textbook, but we're beyond that. We really are a blended learning environment. So it's looking at what a student needs to know and be able to do to be successful within that content area. So teachers are all the time having students do things outside of Edgenuity to demonstrate proficiency. I'll give you an example. In the fall, we had a young man who was working on a biome project. He loved Minecraft, so the teacher said, rather than completing lessons on the biomes, why don't you create 5 or 6 different biomes within Minecraft, and within each biome you have to have the flora, the fauna. I mean, everything was listed there that the student had to know and be able to do to demonstrate proficiency. So it really goes back to that personalized learning and being able to see what the student's strengths are and how that they can demonstrate proficiency in that area.
And I think also, Shanna mentioned earlier that one of the lessons learned was to start small. And I think one of the advantages is that the staff is small. There's teachers there that we are able to work together in cross-content areas. This past year, we were lucky enough to have a virtual digital arts teacher that has really pulled a lot of the content together, the content areas together, and allowed students to create projects that would pull standards from English and social studies, and she works closely with the teachers so that she can have some cross-content projects for the students.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. There was a question that came in about the reality that online or blended learning or a more flexible option might not be right for every single student. Have you encountered students where they just can't be successful in this environment? And if so, what's your process for transitioning a student out of the program if necessary?
Sure. We have had very few students who we have felt this is not the right path for them. And we have a great relationship with our main campus counselors and administrators. And at the end of the semester, if we see this student is going to be better served in a more traditional setting, then we can make that transition there. But I'll be honest with you, the students who are interested in our program typically have great success in our program.
Okay, great. These have been great questions. Thank you all for them. Please keep them coming. We have time for a few more questions, so please do continue to send in your questions. I'm sort of consolidating a few questions here by asking this, but you talked about the great work that your very lean teaching staff is doing. How did you recruit the teachers to join this program? Was it voluntary? Were teachers appointed? How did you find these exceptional teachers, the right teachers to be in your program?
A lot of the teachers were in place from the beginning, and then as the program has evolved, we've added more. I think Shanna is a testament to creating the culture of what teaching and learning looks like over there, and I think it's getting exciting because we have teachers on the main campuses, kind of starting to think, oh, what's, really thinking about what it looks like over there and how it's different and how exciting it is. So I think it's kind of been an evolution of getting those teachers, and Shanna's.
And I also think that when you go to interview teachers, we usually do it with a team. So I will have 2 or 3 teachers, maybe a couple of other administrators who interview with me, and asking those questions that let you know if someone is of a growth mindset. And I know that I keep going back to growth mindset, but that really is an essential key that a teacher has to have when working in a blended environment, because it really isn't that you're the deliverer of information. It is more that, are you committed to being a partner with a student to help them show proficiency and be the learner that they need to be?
Great, thank you for sharing that and commenting on that. I don't see any other questions. I have a few more points that I want to make, so I'm going to leave the questions open. So please feel free, if you think of something, to go ahead and ask questions. You'll see up on screen that both Laurie and Shanna have graciously shared their contact information. So please feel free to jot that down and reach out to them if you are interested in continuing the conversation and have some specific questions that they might be able to help you with. I do want to share that we have one more session coming up in April. We have Casa Grande Elementary School District in Arizona, who is going to be speaking about a different way that they are using online curriculum. They are using online curriculum for concept recovery. So as a way to help close some gaps for students, among some other ways that they're using online curriculum. So we hope you'll join us in April to hear more about their blended program. And certainly when we send out the link for the recording to today's session, you can feel free to register for that future session then. And we are working to schedule more sessions, so be on the lookout for those. I want to ask one more time if there's any other questions. The questions have been so fantastic, so we thank you all for being such active participants in today's session. I do also want to thank Laurie and Shanna tremendously for sharing with us about their program and, of course, the good work that they're doing with their students and the really exciting and innovative program that they've created to offer their students a new and flexible way to learn. If there are not any more questions, which I don't think that there are, once again, I'll thank Laurie and Shanna and all of you for joining us. And certainly we want this conversation to continue, so we hope you'll join us for future sessions. We hope you'll reach out to Laurie and Shanna if you have questions directly for them. But thank you all for joining us, and Laurie and Shanna, again, thank you so much for sharing all these insights with everyone today.
Thank you so much, and we're excited to be able to share our journey, and we learn from those around us. So we welcome any and all questions that anyone may have. So feel free to send us an email. We'll give you our phone number. You can call us. We can have a conference call, whatever needed. So like I said, we learn from others, and we're ready to share our journey with you all.
Thank you, Jennifer. We really enjoyed it. And like Shanna said, please reach out. We are happy to share and learn from everyone else as well.
Well, thank you so much, and hopefully some folks today will take you up on that. We very much appreciate you being open to those conversations. And to all of you who joined us, again, thank you for your participation. Please let us know if we can help you answer any questions, put you in touch with any school or district. Certainly let us know how we can support you as you're working to implement online and blended learning programs. But to all of you, again, thank you so much, and we hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.